Can we stop ruining video games? Because if we keep going like this, every game is going to ship with a therapist and a prescription to Zoloft. More and more games are being watered down or straight up compromised in the name of accessibility. And before Twitter starts warming up, no, I'm not talking about accessibility in the traditional meaningful sense. Options that allow people with disabilities to play games. That stuff is great. I'm talking about emotional bubble wrap. This modern idea of accessibility pushes to remove challenge, sanitizes content, plasters games with excessive warnings, and treats players with kid gloves out of fear that someone somewhere might feel uncomfortable. They're apologizing in advance in case the game accidentally makes you feel something. But isn't that the point of video games? To make you feel something? Fun!
Fear.
Tension! Excitement!
Horror.
Joy! Sadness! You know, emotions? The things we're apparently not allowed to experience anymore without a warning screen and a support hotline. You don't need to warn people that an M-rated game called Dead Space contains disturbing content. The box art is a severed hand floating through space. It doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out what the game's about. And right next to it is a cute Wood Awaitings label, which already explains the entire situation like it's been doing since the 90s. Mature games have always had warnings. They used to be brief, informative, and then they shut the fuck up. Now they apologize for existing. Konami's Metal Gear Solid collection opens by basically saying, "Oh boy, hey, sorry about Hideo Kojima. We didn't know he was like that." Silent Hill F puts a warm hand on your shoulder and looks you lovingly in the eye to explain that the story was written in a time with questionable values, then carefully lists all the disturbing themes you're about to see so there's nothing left to discover organically. It even tells you to stop playing and talk to someone if you feel uncomfortable. Shut up, game, you're not my mom. I thought this game was rated M for mature, not S for suggested by your therapist. Then Dead Space asks for your consent to be a horror game, listing warnings for trauma, mental health, psychosis, claustrophobia, delusions, obsessive behavior, vomit. Vomit? If the concept of vomit or obsessive behavior is a deal breaker, maybe an M-rated horror game isn't in your wheelhouse.
But wait, there's more!
In this M-rated horror game, you can turn off all blood and gore, hide disturbing scenes, and enable pop-up warnings that tell you exactly what content you're about to see before it happens. That's like a haunted house where the actors ask for consent before jumping out. This is the equivalent of releasing a zombie movie where you can replace the zombies with teddy bears, and instead of attacking people, they hug them and whisper affirmations. Congratulations, you didn't survive the apocalypse. You experienced a content-approved scenario. And no, this isn't harmless. Teaching people to hide from anything that might provoke discomfort, especially difficult emotions or states of mind, is unhealthy. In real life, you don't get a content toggle for fear, grief, or anxiety. You deal with them. You learn to cope. Creating environments where people are encouraged to avoid anything that isn't pure, frictionless joy sets them up for failure. And let's be honest, we already have a solution. Don't play the game.
By Jove, I think he's got it.
I've said this countless times. Once you allow this mindset in, it never stops. It escalates. Which brings us to this. This trailer opens up with a content warning about fire. Fire. What are we doing? Warning. Outside contains air. Breathing may occur. And it bleeds into gameplay. Games are now designed so nobody ever feels bad. They need to be universally approachable, which often means stripping away complexity and challenge. Failure makes people feel icky, right? And we can't have that. As a consequence, many recent updates have actively weakened the intended experience. Titles such as Clair Obscur and Silent Hill F have been altered to be easier with changes like extended parry windows, boosted health, reduced enemy count, and lowered overall difficulty. Failure is cancelled. Then Doom the Dark Ages says, fuck it, do whatever. Adjust player damage, adjust enemy damage, show all secrets, glowing waypoints everywhere. At that point, Doom isn't a game, it's a settings menu with demons in it. Doom used to have an identity, it used to be punishing. Now it's whatever you feel like today. And of course it gets worse. A journalist by the name of Chris Scullion at VGC recently asked developers to include options to remove swear words from M-rated games so they can play them in front of their 7-year-old kids. The suggestion suggestion included having 2 separate voice tracks, one with the swearing and one without, and maybe tack in some censored subtitles. You know what ideas like that do? They signal opportunity. They tell developers there's a wider audience and social brownie points to be gained by accommodating bad ideas. And what's easier than making 2 separate audio tracks and 2 separate subtitle sets? Removing the adult content altogether. This is exactly how this sort of thing happens. So here's a wild thought. Maybe your 7-year-old shouldn't be watching M-rated content. How's about that? Then you have the Kotaku journalist John Walker asking for the ability to skip boss fights because they're too hard. At some point, the question has to be asked, why are you even playing games? All of this damages game development, and ultimately, the games we get to play. There should be offensive games. There should be cozy games, easy games, brutally hard games, games for niche audiences, games that aren't for you. And that's okay. It's called variety. Each of those experiences deserves the freedom to be the best version of itself. Instead, we're heading toward a future where every game is safe, soft, inoffensive, and instantly forgettable. And honestly, that's way scarier than anything in Dead Space.